Hey guys, thanks for tuning into my channel here. In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this book face match coffee table out of black walnut and epoxy resin. So as you can see, the first step is to debark the slab. So I pretty much ripped it off with I think I used a flathead screwdriver to take off all the big pieces. And then I came with my drill and a wire brush fitting from Harbor Freight, and I started cleaning it all up, making sure all the loose pieces of bark were off. The process is a little messy, but you want to take your time and make sure you get it all nice and cleaned up. Okay, the next step that we're going to take is we're going to shellac the whole entire slab. As you can see right here, I grabbed a brush and I'm hitting all the edges where epoxy is going to touch. And it's important to do this. Some people do it, some people don't, because if you're going to use a darker epoxy, it might leak through the wood, and you know it might stain and not look as nice. You don't have to do this, but I choose to do it. I think it's a good practice. So pretty much just make sure you go all over the slab, get the shellac on there, and then you want to let it dry, and we'll move on to our next step. Okay, now that we have the shellac on there, our next step is to scruff up all the area around the slab right there. And we're doing this so the epoxy can adhere nicely to the slab. The step after that is to put the mold together so we can do our pour, which you're looking at right here. I'll post a video on how to build the mold in the future, but pretty much right here you can see me pouring the epoxy in there. So I believe for this one I use 1.5 gallons of liquid glass epoxy. Liquid glass is it's one of the top brands out there, and this is going to take about 3 days to dry, and I recommend it if you're doing a big project like this. But if you're working on something that's smaller, like you're making a charcuterie board or a cutting board with resin in it, I wouldn't recommend this stuff because it does take a while to make. I mean to dry. Sorry about that. Here I am. I went on vacation to Oregon, and I chopped up some wood. I know this has nothing to do with the video, but I just thought I'd throw it in there. Okay. And when I got back from Oregon, I decided to take apart the mold, which had the table, the coffee table in there, and it's nice and dry, and yeah, it's kind of rough taking these molds apart. They're a little sticky, and you really got to work them hard. But eventually you'll get them off. You just got to make sure you don't get any splinters or get a nail. I pretty much just grabbed some pliers and started ripping it all apart. And there it is. It came up nice and loose. And look at that. We got epoxy everywhere, but that won't be a problem. We're going to make sure we sand that all down. But yeah, it's satisfying seeing it come out of the mold. Okay, so after it came out of the mold, I took it to a local lumber shop that we have around here, and I had them run it through a giant, pretty much belt sander. And then I brought it back home, and as you can see right here, um, I didn't have my table saw available at this time, so I decided to pretty much make a jig with some wood and a couple clamps, and I started squaring squaring the table off. I don't recommend you do it this way. I was doing it because I've done stuff like this before, but I would definitely recommend using a table saw. It'll make it a lot easier and not as much work. But it's all I had at the time, so I decided to do it that way. All right, guys. So this is when we start putting in some real work. We're gonna sand this table down, and we want to go through 80, 120, 150, 180, and 220 grit. And you want to take your time when you're doing this. I don't know what type of sanders you guys have out there, but this is probably my most important tool. My favorite tool that I own is this Festool sander. It just makes the job very, very easy. It works amazing. They're a little expensive. It also has a vacuum on it, so I'm not breathing in all this stuff that I'm sanding, all this dust and epoxy, which is important for your health. But pretty much what you're going to do here is you're just going to go through every grit from 80 all the way up to 220, and you want to make sure pretty much you sand the crap out of it. And you want to go through every grit and take your time. Don't go skipping grits or not sanding the whole thing the right way. What I do is I just take a pencil. I write all over. I do squiggly lines all over the table, like right there. And this just gives me an idea of where I sanded and where I need to sand, where I haven't sanded, sorry. So it helps you keep track, so you're not sanding too much in one spot and not enough in the other. Yeah, so we're just sanding through all the grits right here. And like I said, take your time. It's a tedious job and it kind of takes forever. But, you know, it's what makes the table look great at the end. Okay, so I forgot to mention this. While I'm doing all this, I'm looking for little holes in the epoxy that are created while it's drying. And pretty much you have to fill these holes in. So what I do to fill the holes in is I use CA glue, which is sold on Amazon, and it comes the CA glue with an activator, which you spray on there, which makes the glue dry within, I'd say, 5 seconds. It's dry. You can sand it, and then that's how you work your way up, so it's a perfectly flat surface. Again, you need to take your time filling these little holes in, and it's not a fun job. It gets annoying. Sometimes the holes get air in them, and the glue doesn't do anything, so you need to go back and poke it with a needle and make sure it gets filled in there, and then you're good to go. But it takes forever. It's probably not, that's probably my least favorite part of building epoxy resin tables. Okay, here we are. The table is nice and flat. It's sanded all the way up to 220. Um, it looks pretty amazing, but we still got the fun part coming up, which is putting some Rubio Monocoat finish on it. Here we go. I'm mixing some Rubio Monocoat. I can add the link to the bottom of this so you guys know where to get this. This is the best stuff out there to finish your tables with. It's a floor finish, but it works great on coffee tables or dining tables when you're working with wood. It's amazing. I did 2 coats of it. You don't it's monocoat, so it means 1 coat. You don't have to do 2 coats of it. I just chose to do 2 coats of it, just to fix some little imperfections that that were my fault. But this stuff is great. It's a little expensive, but it's the best, and the finish at the end is amazing. You guys are gonna see. So pretty much, you mix the Rubio monocoat, and then you pour a little bit on top of your table. This is my first time using the Rubio monocoat, so I made way too much, and I wasted a lot of it. You don't need that much, but you pretty much grab a credit card and you just start spreading it all over like I'm doing in this video. You just spray it on all over, and then you want to do both sides when you're doing this. You don't want to do one side and then come back the next day. I know that sounds like, that would be the right thing to do, but you could actually warp your table, because if one side is open, dry, and the other side is has the Rubio monocoat on it already, it could warp overnight. So I recommend you do both sides the same day. You get both sides done, and that'll keep it from any moisture entering on one side of the table and causing it to warp. We don't want the table to warp. So there you go. This is a satisfying part of building the table. It's the best part. It's my favorite part, I would say. But like I said, I did this twice. You don't have to do it twice. I chose to do it twice. The second time, I came in, once this dried up, I buffed it with a towel, and then I came back the next day, and I used the purple scuffing pad, purple scuffing pad, and I scuffed the whole thing up, and then I did another coat of Rubio monocoat. Right here, I'm just buffing it and just trying to get the best shine that I can out of it. But like I said, as you see coming up in the video, I'm going to be doing another coat of Rubio monocoat. Again, you don't have to do that. I just chose to do it, and my table came out great. But enjoy. Like I said, a little bit of this stuff goes a long way. As you can see here, I just keep spreading it. I'm going to spread it all over, get it in every single inch of this table. And then I'm going to buff it. Probably the next day, I just end up buffing it with a microfiber cloth, just making sure I get all of it off. And you'll be able to see here in the final picture of what an amazing finish you get with this stuff. I mean, I wouldn't recommend any other finish if you're doing a big project or a big table like this. One of my last steps was to add the legs on the table, which I got on Etsy.com. It's a little bit of a process, but you can get it done. And here it is. This is the final product right here. It looks amazing. Guys, please subscribe to my channel. Check me out at Urthwoodstudios on Instagram, and check out my shop at etsy.com/shop/Urthwoodstudio on Etsy. I make multiple things, not just tables. I make chopping boards, charcuterie boards, and all that other good stuff. Thanks for watching.